The sun had barely risen over the red cliffs when the quiet wind carried a sense of change through the land. The desert seemed peaceful, but nothing about the last few days had been peaceful for Naya. The young Apache warrior woman, who once ran faster than anyone in her band and rode horses as if she had been born in the saddle. Everyone had known her bravery. Everyone had trusted her strength. Everyone had believed she would be the future of her people. But now, that same warrior woman lay on the cold earth near an old dry creek bed, staring at the sky with eyes full of pain and disbelief. Her legs, both of them, were gone, wrapped in rough cloth by an uncertain hand. The stumps where her legs once were ached with a constant deep fire. She did not cry, not even once, though the pain was strong enough to bring any person to their knees. She simply stared upward, silent, breathing slowly, refusing to let the world see her break. She was Apache. She was trained to endure. But no amount of training prepared a heart for the moment it learned it had been abandoned. Her tribe had left her. They had decided she would not survive. They believed that someone without legs, even a brave warrior like her, would slow them down, endanger them, take resources they could not spare. Their world was harsh, their traditions old, their fears stronger than their loyalty, so they left her behind. One moment she had been in pain, but surrounded by her people. The next morning she woke to silence. No tracks of horses. No sound of voices. No scent of smoke from the cooking fire. Only the empty space where her people should have been. She felt the loneliness before she fully understood the truth. It was a silence sharper than any blade. Still, she did not shout for them. She did not beg for their return. If they believed leaving her behind was necessary, she would accept it. She would not give them the shame of hearing her cry out. But deep in her heart, she felt the sting of betrayal that she never imagined she would taste from her own blood. Her hands trembled, not from weakness, but from the truth settling across her chest like a heavy stone. She was alive, but not whole. She was breathing, but not standing. She was strong, but alone. She tried to sit up, pushing her palms into the earth. Dust rose around her fingers. Her arms shook from effort. She could barely move without feeling the ground spin beneath her. The world began to blur. For a moment she thought she might faint again, but before the darkness could take her, she heard something, a sound that did not come from her people. A sound unfamiliar, uneven, and heavy like boots crushing dry leaves. Someone was approaching. Naya froze. Her breath caught in her throat. She reached for the knife at her side, even though her hand trembled and her grip was weak. If it was a danger animal, enemy, stranger, she would face it with whatever strength she had left. She would not die helpless. The footsteps grew closer, slowly, carefully. Then a shadow appeared over her. Blocking the early morning light, it was a man. A tall, broad-shouldered cowboy in worn boots and a sun-faded hat. His face was dusted with stubble, and his shirt carried the marks of long travel and harder work. His horse stood a few steps behind him, snorting softly, watching the scene as if unsure what to make of it. The cowboy crouched beside her, his voice low and steady. "Ma'am, you're hurt bad." Naya tightened her grip on the knife. "Stay back," she whispered, though her voice cracked with effort. The cowboy didn't reach for her. He didn't flinch at the blade in her hand. He simply nodded, understanding her fear. "I'm not here to harm you," he said gently. "I'm just passing through. Saw the tracks of your people. Thought I'd find a camp. Didn't expect to find." This Naya swallowed hard. She didn't want to admit the truth, not even to herself. "They had to move fast," she whispered. "They left at dawn." The cowboy glanced at her bandaged wounds. He noticed the fresh soil where someone had wrapped her legs quickly and poorly. "You're telling me they left you like this?" he asked softly. Naya stared at him, her face steady, but her eyes full of silent pain. She didn't answer. She didn't need to. The truth was written across her body. The cowboy exhaled slowly, a deep frown settling on his face. "That ain't right," he murmured. "No one deserves to be left this way." Naya blinked hard, as if his words stung more than her wounds. She did not want pity. She did not want kindness. She wanted dignity, I will manage, she said, though she had no idea how. He shook his head. Not alone. Not out here. Buzzards'll come by noon. Wolves by evening. You ain't got water. She didn't reply. Her breath grew shallow, and her fingers slipped slightly on the handle of her knife. The cowboy reached slowly for his canteen, keeping his movements gentle so she wouldn't panic. Let me give you water, he said. You don't have to trust me. Just don't push me away when I'm trying to help. She watched him for a long moment. His eyes were calm, honest, steady. No sign of mockery. No sign of fear. No sign of judgment. She lowered the knife. With careful hands, the cowboy held the canteen to her lips. Naya drank slowly, each sip cooling her dry throat and giving her strength she didn't know she had left. When she finished, he wiped the dust from her face with his sleeve. His touch was soft, respectful, and warm. Name's Cole, he said quietly. She hesitated, then whispered, Naya. Well, Naya, I reckon you're a strong one. Most folks would have been gone by now. But you're still here. That counts. She looked away, but his words stayed with her longer than she expected. Cole inspected her bandages. These were wrapped in a hurry, he said. Whoever did it tried, but they didn't do it right. Naya closed her eyes. She remembered the one person from her tribe who had tried to argue for her, a young healer, someone who wanted to stay, but the elders had pulled her away. They had no choice, she whispered. Though her voice lacked conviction, Cole shook his head. Everyone has a choice. The cowboy stood, walked to his horse, and returned with clean cloth salve and a small pouch of herbs. Let me fix these, he said gently. You'll get an infection if we don't. Asha. Naya stared at him. Why? She whispered. Why help me? You don't know me. Cole paused, his expression softening. Because you're a human being, he said. Because you deserve a chance. Because no one should die alone on the ground. His words were simple, plain. But they struck her like arrows of truth, slowly. Naya nodded. Cole carefully unwrapped the old bandages and cleaned her wounds with water mixed with herbs. Naya clenched her jaw, but did not cry out. She felt the sting, the burn, and the deep ache. But she endured every moment with silent strength. Cole kept speaking softly to distract her. You're brave, he said. Most folks would be calling for help or begging for mercy. I do not beg, she said firmly. I can see that. He wrapped her wounds again, this time smooth and tight. The difference was immediate. She could breathe easier. When he finished, he stood and looked around the land. The desert stretched endlessly, and the sky above them grew brighter with the rising sun. You can't stay here, Cole said. Not for even one more hour. You need food, shelter, a doctor. Naya lowered her eyes. I cannot ride. I cannot walk. Cole knelt in front of her. Then I'll carry you. Her eyes widened. She had been carried only when she was a child. Warriors did not let themselves be lifted. But she was not the warrior she used to be. Still, the thought troubled her. You do not have to do this, she said softly. Cole gave her a small, gentle smile. Maybe not. But I want to. He lifted her carefully in his arms. She was light, but her body trembled from pain and exhaustion. She leaned her head against his chest without meaning to. His heartbeat was steady, strong, comforting in a way she hadn't felt in days. He walked toward his horse, adjusting his hold so she felt secure. Naya looked toward the horizon where her tribe had gone. She felt a shadow of sadness, but not as sharp as before. Something else was beginning to grow in its place, quiet. Fragile hope. Cole placed her gently on his horse, holding her steady. We'll head to my ranch, he said. We'll get you taken care of. You'll be safe there. Naya looked at him, her voice barely above a whisper. Why do you care so much? Cole tightened the strap around her for support. Because sometimes a person needs someone to stand by them, even when the rest of the world walks away. Acha. Naya closed her eyes, letting the warmth of his words sink into her heart. For the first time since she opened her eyes that morning, she didn't feel abandoned. She felt seen. She felt worth saving. And she felt that maybe, just maybe, this cowboy's arrival was not an accident at all. The ride to Cole's ranch was long and quiet. Naya sat carefully on the horse, her body aching with every movement, but she didn't speak. Her mind swirled with the events of the past few days, the betrayal of her tribe, the pain in her legs, and now the uncertainty of what awaited her. Cole rode beside her, his horse steady and strong. He didn't push her to speak, didn't ask questions she wasn't ready to answer. His presence alone was enough. The quiet rhythm of hooves against the dry earth seemed to ease some of the tension in her shoulders. After a while, Cole spoke softly. "You've been through a lot, Naya. Ain't nobody could blame you for feeling lost." Naya looked at him briefly, her dark eyes sharp and steady, despite her exhaustion. "I am not lost. I am alive." "That is enough," Cole nodded. "Alive is a good start. But surviving is only the first step. We need to make sure you're strong enough to keep living." Naya didn't respond. She wasn't sure if she wanted help. She had spent years learning to rely only on herself, to trust only her own strength. But as the sun climbed higher in the sky and the desert grew hotter, the reality of her condition pressed down on her. She could not move without assistance. She could not even tend to herself properly. The harsh truth was undeniable. She needed someone. Cole guided the horse with careful hands, keeping it steady as they approached a small rise. From the top, Naya could see the ranch below, a modest but well-kept property with a barn, a stable, and a low house surrounded by fields. Smoke rose from the chimney, promising warmth, food, and safety. "Almost there," Cole said, a hint of relief in his voice. "You're going to be all right." Naya kept her gaze on the ground. "Why did you stop? Why help me?" Cole's face softened, and he shook his head. "I don't rightly know. Maybe because I know what it's like to be left alone. To have folks turn their backs when you need 'em most. I couldn't let that happen to you." Naya's lips pressed together. She had not expected kindness, not in the world she had lived in. Betrayal had been constant. Danger had been constant. Now a stranger was showing her something unfamiliar. Care. Cole led the horse slowly down the hill. When they reached the ranch, he tied the horse securely and helped Naya dismount. Every movement sent sharp reminders of her injuries through her body. God. But Cole's steady hands guided her safely to the porch. Inside the house, the air smelled of bread, baking, and wood smoke. Naya could hear a soft hum from the kitchen, a small comfort in a world that had offered little. Cole helped her to a chair and handed her a cup of warm tea. The liquid soothed her throat and warmed her from within. She accepted it silently, feeling a flicker of gratitude she hadn't allowed herself to feel in weeks. "You need rest," Cole said, "and food. Then we'll figure out what comes next." Naya nodded. "I do not need pity." "I ain't giving you pity," Cole said gently. "I'm giving you help. There's a difference." For the first time, Naya allowed herself to relax. She let her head tilt back and closed her eyes, listening to the soft creaks of the house, the wind through the open window, and the distant call of a hawk. She felt the tension in her body slowly unwind. It was strange, comforting, almost frightening. Later that day, Cole helped her to the bedroom he had prepared. A sturdy cot with thick blankets awaited her, along with pillows propped against the wall for support. She settled onto it, the relief of lying down stronger than she expected. Cole left her for a short time to tend to chores, but returned with a small tray of food. Naya ate slowly, savoring each bite. She hadn't eaten properly since the accident. She had survived on little more than scraps and water. Now, with proper food in front of her, she felt strength returning in small waves. "You're stronger than you think," Cole said as he watched her eat. "You've been through pain most folks couldn't imagine, and yet here you are sitting up eating, fighting through it." Naya looked at him. "I am not strong for others. I am strong for myself. That is all," Cole smiled. "Fair enough. But no, this sometimes being strong for yourself means letting someone else help." Her hands trembled slightly as she set the cup down. She did not answer. The truth of his words lingered in the air, heavy and undeniable. Over the next few days, Cole helped Naya adjust to life without her legs. He constructed a wooden chair with wheels, a makeshift wheelchair that allowed her to move around the house and porch with some independence. He taught her how to use it, patiently guiding her hands and arms until she could maneuver on her own. Naya struggled at first, her pride clashing with the reality of her situation. She hated needing help. She hated the feeling of being dependent. But each time she moved a little farther on her own, each time she managed to navigate a door or turn the chair without assistance, a small spark of confidence returned. "You're getting the hang of it," Cole said one afternoon, as she navigated the porch. "Soon, you'll be moving faster than me." Naya allowed herself a small smile, a rare expression she hadn't worn in weeks. "Do not flatter me," she said, but her tone carried amusement rather than scorn. Cole chuckled. "I'm not flattering. I'm observing. You're learning quick. That's all." As the days passed, Naya began to observe the rhythms of ranch life. She watched Cole work with the horses, tend to the fields, and repair fences. The routines of the ranch were unfamiliar, but comforting in their steadiness. She learned to anticipate his movements, to help where she could, and to offer guidance even while confined to her chair. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills and the sky turned a soft orange, Naya spoke for the first time about the past. "They left me," she said quietly, her gaze on the horizon. "They said I would slow them down, that I would die out here. That I was no longer part of them." Cole sat beside her, leaning against the porch railing. "And yet you're here," he said softly. "Still breathin', still fightin', still here?" Naya's eyes filled with tears. She didn't bother to hide. I thought I was strong, but I could not survive alone. I was abandoned." Cole placed a hand on hers, rough but steady. "You weren't abandoned. You were left behind by people who were scared. That ain't the same. You're still alive, still strong, and now you've got a chance to rebuild. That counts for something, doesn't it?" She nodded slowly, wiping her tears. "It counts. For something, perhaps more than I realized." Night fell, and the stars emerged over the desert. Naya lay in bed, feeling the wind from the open window, and allowed herself to dream. For the first time in weeks, she imagined a future that was not defined by loss or pain. She imagined herself learning new ways to live, new ways to move, new ways to survive. And she imagined the cowboy who had appeared like an answer to a prayer she hadn't dared to voice. The next morning, Cole brought her breakfast and some letters he had found in the household correspondence from his family. He read some of them aloud, and Naya listened, intrigued by stories of life, work, and resilience. It was strange to feel part of someone else's life, but it gave her hope. She began to understand that survival was not only about enduring pain, it was about finding meaning, connection, and purpose, even when the world had turned its back. By the third day, Naja began practicing more actively with the chair. She moved from room to room, learning to navigate obstacles, to push herself with precision, and to rely on her upper body strength. She even ventured outside, feeling the warm sun on her arms and face. Each movement was a small victory. Each breath was a reminder that she was still alive. Cole observed quietly, offering guidance when necessary, never rushing her, never forcing her. He respected her pace, her dignity, and her independence. Naya began to feel something she hadn't in a long time: trust. By the end of the week, she could move through the ranch with confidence. She could tend to small chores, help with feeding animals, and even venture near the fields. She was not the warrior she had been before the accident, but she was something new: a survivor, learning to adapt and endure. One afternoon, as they worked together in the barn, Cole paused and looked at her. "You know, Naya, you got a fire in you that won't quit. Most folks would have given up long before now. You keep fighting, keep adapting. That's something to be proud of." Naya's eyes met his, steady and thoughtful. "I am learning," she said. "Learning to live. Differently. But to live. Nonetheless." Cole smiled, a warm, gentle smile. "That's all anyone can ask for. And I reckon You're doing better than most." For the first time since she was left behind, Naya felt a quiet sense of hope. The world had abandoned her, but she had found someone who would not. She had found safety, care, and trust. And though the journey ahead was uncertain, she understood one truth clearly: she was not alone. The days passed with steady routine at Cole's ranch. Naya had learned to maneuver her wheelchair with ease, her upper body strong, her mind sharp. She helped with the animals, guided the younger horses, and even began tending a small garden Cole had planted near the house. Each day she felt more in control of her life, more capable of moving forward despite the loss she had endured. Yet, there were moments when the quiet of the desert brought memories she could not shake: the laughter of her tribe, the smell of campfires, the warmth of hands that had once called her family. She sometimes wondered if they had even noticed she was gone. She wondered if they felt regret. But those thoughts no longer consumed her. Cole's steady presence reminded her that life could continue. Even in the aftermath of betrayal, one evening, as the sun dipped low behind the cliffs, Cole came to the porch with 2 mugs of warm tea. He handed one to Naya, and they sat together, listening to the soft hum of the wind through the trees. "You've come a long way," he said quietly. "I've seen a lot of folks, Naya, but most don't make it through what you've been through and keep their fire alive. You've got something special." Naya took a sip, letting the warmth soothe her hands. "I had no choice," she said softly. "I could not give up. That is all." Cole shook his head. "No, it's more than that. Most folks give up. You fought. You adapted. You kept going when everything told you to stop. That's courage." She looked at him, feeling a strange gratitude she had never allowed herself to feel for anyone. "And yet you helped me. You did not leave me behind." "Why?" Cole smiled gently. "Sometimes the right thing ain't about courage or strength. It's about choice. I chose to help you because I knew it was the right thing to do. Because no one deserves to face the world alone when they can be saved." Naya's lips curved into a small, honest smile. "Then perhaps I was lucky that day." "Luck?" Cole laughed softly. "I reckon maybe, but I think it was more than luck. I think it was fate. Sometimes the world puts people together for a reason. You were meant to find this place, and I was meant to find you." The wind shifted, carrying the scent of the desert flowers. Naya closed her eyes, letting the calmness of the moment fill her. For the first time, she didn't feel anger toward her tribe, didn't feel the sting of betrayal. She only felt the presence of someone who cared, who had chosen to stay when others had turned away. Weeks turned into months. Naya grew stronger each day, both physically and emotionally. She learned to tend the horses alone, to work in the garden, and to navigate the ranch without help. Cole watched her progress with quiet pride, never pushing her, always respecting her pace. One morning, Cole rode in from the fields and found Naya on the porch, her chair parked beside her as she watched the sun rise. "You've grown stronger than I imagined," he said. Dismounting and walking toward her, Naya smiled. "I am learning to live, fully, even with what I have lost." Cole nodded. "That's good. You've earned it, and you deserve every bit of it." The silence stretched comfortably between them. Then Cole spoke again. "I want you to know something, Naya. You're not alone anymore. You won't ever have to face the world by yourself. Not while I'm around." Her heart skipped. These words carried more than safety. They carried trust, care, and a promise she had longed for, but never dared hope to hear. She nodded, feeling a warmth she had not felt since before her accident. The bond between them deepened over the coming months. Cole's kindness and steady support gave Naya the confidence to envision a future she had thought impossible. She learned to ride a specially fitted saddle on horseback, to guide the horses with skill, and even began teaching herself to shoot with a bow again, using her upper body strength. Every accomplishment reminded her of the warrior she had been and the survivor she had become. One afternoon, while tending the garden, Naya heard a commotion near the barn. She wheeled herself quickly to see a group of riders approaching. Her heart skipped as familiar faces emerged from the distance. It was her tribe. They had come back. Naya's pulse quickened, but she did not panic. She had faced betrayal before, and she had survived. Now, she was not alone. She had strength, she had skill, and she had Cole. The riders dismounted, and the leader, an elder she had known since childhood, stepped forward. His eyes fell on her chair, her strong arms, and the calm, steady expression she wore. "Naya," he began, his voice shaky. We did not expect you to live. We thought I was left behind," she said quietly but firmly. "I was abandoned, and yet I survived. Not because of you, but because someone chose to help me." Cole stood beside her, his presence silent but strong. The elder looked between them, realizing that she was no longer the child who had once relied on the tribe. She was a survivor, a warrior in a different way, and she had found strength outside their world. The elder stammered. We were wrong." Naya's gaze did not waver. "The past cannot be undone. I have moved forward. You may wish to reconcile, but know this. I do not need your forgiveness. I do not need your protection. I have my life, and I have my choice." The riders nodded, understanding finally that the woman they had once abandoned had grown beyond their control, beyond their expectations. They had left a warrior and returned to find a survivor. As the tribe rode away, Naya felt a sense of peace. She had faced the pain of betrayal, the depth of despair, and had come through stronger. She no longer feared being left alone. She had found someone who would stand by her, who respected her, and who had given her the chance to live fully again. Cole returned to her side, offering a hand to steady her. "You all right?" he asked. Naya smiled, genuine and unguarded. "I am more than all right. I am alive, and I am free. And for the first time, I feel that life holds promise." Cole nodded, his own smile warm. "Then let's keep moving forward, together." Naya looked at him, her eyes steady, and for the first time, she let herself imagine a future filled not with loss, but with possibility. She could live, she could love, and she could thrive. The desert was vast and harsh, but it no longer felt lonely. Together they watched the sun set over the red cliffs. The wind whispered through the trees, carrying the promise of new days. Naya felt the warmth of hope growing in her chest, steady and unyielding. She had been abandoned, she had been betrayed, but she had survived. And now she had found something stronger than survival: trust, friendship, and the courage to live again. For the first time in her life, Naya knew she was truly safe. Not because the world had changed, but because she had found someone who had chosen to stand with her when it mattered most. The cowboy had arrived when she needed him, and in doing so, he had given her the gift of a second chance at life, a life filled with strength, dignity, and hope. And as the stars appeared over the desert, Naya felt a quiet joy. She had been abandoned by her tribe, but she had not been abandoned by life itself. She had learned that even in the darkest times, the light of kindness, courage, and choice could guide her forward. Together, Naya and Cole prepared for the days ahead. She would rebuild her life, not as a warrior of her old tribe, but as a survivor of her own making, strong in body, mind, and spirit. The road would not be easy, but she would walk it with dignity, courage, and the knowledge that she was no longer alone. The desert stretched before them, wide and endless, but Naya's heart was full. She had faced the deepest darkness and found a light that would never fade, and she knew, without question, that the future she had once feared was now hers to claim.